All right, so in this video, I want to talk about stimulants, pre-workout, caffeine, when, why to use, okay? So I talk to people in here all the time about coffee, caffeine, and their usage. And I'm surprised to find out that most people are not apprehensive, but they haven't taken that step towards using like caffeine for a pre-workout, even just something as simple as coffee. Before I've gotten to this point, I was probably under the assumption that just like kind of everybody at least did coffee for their workout. But I think most people they have the wrong idea about caffeine and what it does to you or what it can do for you. I think there's a lot of false information out there that people are afraid to use coffee or caffeine. And so I kind of want to dispel some of those myths and also maybe point you in a direction, like if you're wanting to experiment with some of these things, point you in a safe direction. So you got to understand there's a guilty by association factor with caffeine, okay, and coffee. So a lot of times I ask people, do you drink coffee? Do you use caffeine? And they'll say no because, they heard that it dehydrates you or that, it shortens your lifespan or whatever it is that they're saying, right? And I'm not sure where they're getting the information from. There are so many sources out there of bad information, right? But what people fail to do is consider that a lot of times when it's reported that it's guilty by association. So coffee is also used a lot by people with already bad health habits, poor health habits. They might smoke, they eat really bad, they stay up very late, so they're abusing coffee because they don't sleep very well. So their lifestyle tends to put them in this category where they're susceptible to all of these bad health outcomes, premature death or cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, whatever, you name it. And so the caffeine gets a bad rap, right? But it's not the coffee, it's not the caffeine. It's everything else that the person was doing. And if you look at studies that isolate coffee, caffeine, you'll find that actually there are a ton of health benefits. In fact, coffee itself is largely associated with longevity across all kinds of populations around the world. And those studies have been around for years and years. So coffee is an extremely healthy beverage in and of itself, but just like anything can be abused. You can abuse water. You can kill yourself by drinking water, right? So it's always about the dosage and the usage. But again, it's not that drinking coffee is going to turn you into like a meth addict, right? You're not going to be scratching yourself, jonesing for the next cup of coffee. The feeling, the productivity, the focus that you get from it is addicting, but in a good way if you are aware of what you're doing and using. I'm not going to sit here and try to convince everybody through just one video, to do it. What I'm saying is that if you feel like you've been led astray with false information, look back into it, right? If you want to take me aside, if I'm working with you, I'd be more than happy to show you all of the studies and information out there that show that there's no reason to be afraid of these things. Or you can discuss with, somebody that your coach or your trainer or somebody educated on the subject. But at the very least, I will say that it's worth looking into because just as caffeine and coffee are guilty by association, they're associated with a lot of sort of bad habits. They're also associated with a ton of very good habits, productive people, very successful people. And especially if you're an athlete and you're not using some sort of caffeine, you are, I would feel very safe at saying you're not going to reach the upper levels of your sport if you're not using it. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's one or two just freak athletes that have reached the absolute upper levels of their sport with absolutely no caffeine in their system. But I'm going to tell you that 99% of them use it to some degree. Not only does it increase your focus, increases your drive, there are studies that show it increases your strength by as much as 10%. So especially if your sport requires any aspect of strength, you should really strongly consider looking into using caffeine. Again, don't be afraid of becoming a drug addict with it, right? People all over the world for centuries have been using this, and I'm not aware of anybody that's killed anybody for coffee, and maybe it's happened, but I'm not aware of any, right? Now, that being said, I kind of want to just go over two main ways, or three, that I consider using caffeine for any activity that I'm doing. So I'd say the easiest, the less harsh, or the more accessible way for people is just coffee, right? So I have a French press, I have an espresso machine here. I am a fan of both. There's more caffeine content in cold pressing or cold brewing, French pressing or cold brewing, than there is in espresso, but espresso is much easier and you get it right now, and it's not that big of a difference from what I understand in the studies. Just a fact for you to be aware of, right? So I love coffee. It's an acquired taste. You may not love it right off the bat. It's also largely dependent upon what coffee that you're making, how you're making it. I'm blessed to have some Colombians here that their family actually owns coffee farms in Colombia. So I've been exposed to coffee prepared in exceptional ways. It tastes like pure chocolate. It's incredibly smooth. So I know that, don't judge coffee just based off of, one try. If you went to the gas station, you got some gas station coffee, and, don't base your judgment off gas station coffee. Seek somebody out who knows something about coffee, and give it a fair shot, right? But just coffee by itself is a great resource, right? And I would use just coffee if all I'm looking to do is just sort of wake my mind up, focus on a simple task, writing something out, writing some programs for some people, not really looking to do anything exceptionally physically or anything like that, just looking for a little bit of drive or kick in the butt to start my day and get going. Coffee is a great way to do that. A step up from that would be pairing coffee with something called nootropics, right? Essentially just supplements for the brain. So people come in, they see all my stuff over here, and a large part of it is nootropic stuff, right? So a great combo would be something just as simple as like lion's mane and coffee. So lion's mane is a mushroom extract that you can get. It's on Amazon. In fact, the brand that I carry here, I buy mine off Amazon. It's a really good quality. If you're a drug-tested athlete, there are plenty of brands out there that have the tested, the label on. They go through the process with that. But lion's mane is a great one to have with coffee. And a lot of times these nootropics are synergistic with caffeine. So you take the caffeine, you take the nootropic, and they actually work better together. Alpha GPC is another really good one that's ubiquitous on the market. And then there are proprietary blends out there as well. I've got two of them right here. One I just promoted this week. It just came out this week. It's called Conscious One. Now this does have some caffeine in it already, so you could actually just skip the coffee and go straight to this. But it's the same concept, right? It's about 100 milligrams of caffeine or so, combined with a whole list of nootropics that work synergistically together to increase focus and drive and motivation. And then there are non-caffeinated options out there. One of them is Neurobrain Factor from one of the brands I carry, ATP Labs. So that one, it's got alpha GPC in it, some tyrosine and some other things like that. Again, they're just synergistic with coffee. They kind of take it to that next level. When I'm looking to do a strength workout, like I know I need to be really strong for this workout I'm about to do, that's kind of what I'm doing, right? I take a certain level of caffeine, and I make sure I pair it with the proper nootropics to get the most out of the combo that I can. One thing that I try to stay away from, and this is going to go into the next thing, is I try to stay away from things that promote a lot of blood flow. I know that sounds kind of weird, like you're going to work out, right? Don't you want blood flow? Yes, you do, but you also don't want you don't want your blood vessels to be so loose, right, that they can't constrict. You're fighting two battles, right? Caffeine is a vasoconstrictor, and then a lot of those nitric oxide blood pumping supplements, they're vasodilators, right? So when you're wanting to be strong, you're wanting things to be able to focus, tighten up, and get tight on demand. If you're taking vasodilators, those nitric oxide boosters and blood flow supplements, you're kind of hindering yourself, right? You're taking one step forward, one step back kind of deal. So I try not to mix my two pre-workout routines. I try not to have them overlap. I know if I'm going to do a strength workout, I'm going to do this. If I'm doing more of a muscle building hypertrophy workout, or something with a lot of activity, jiu-jitsu is a really good example. If I'm going to do jiu-jitsu, I'm going to do more blood flow stuff and less caffeine, because I don't want the constriction, I want the flow, right? So if I'm going to be doing something along those lines, what I'll do is, again, ATP Lab has a great supplement called ENOS. It's got a proprietary blend of stuff that helps promote blood flow and increases work capacity. I'll take CoQ10, and I'll put electrolytes in my drink as well. And what I'll do is I'll also already preload. I don't know if I should be using that, but pre-workout, I'll take an amount of carbohydrates and honey as well to go ahead and get that in my system, to have that glucose more readily available to use as the workout continues and progresses, so that I'm not gassing out 45 minutes, an hour into jiu-jitsu or my workout. So again, at the very least, I hope that if you just brushed caffeine off, or you brushed coffee off because you thought, you heard that it was bad for you or something like that, at least look into it again, talk with your coach, your trainer, talk with me about it if I'm working with you. And then, if you wanted some direction on, okay, I want to try something out, but I don't know where to go, hopefully I just gave you some ideas and pointed you in a good direction, and that you experience some better workouts going forward. Thanks for watching.